All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the show, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in St. Catharines, Ontario, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streaming around the world on classic1220.ca. And of course, we're coming to you on the X Zone Broadcast Network. A couple of days away from the solar eclipse, and people are just going bananas, and I really can't understand why. Yes, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event. But I've heard everything from there's going to be an alien invasion to zombies are going to start walking all over the earth to the second coming of Christ to this is going to be the dawning of the new age. Personally, I just think, number one, a lot of areas are going to make a lot of money from tourism. That's number one. And number two, it's going to be the same as it was before. I really don't understand what all the hype is about. Personally, like I've been telling you, I'm just going to turn on the TV and watch it on TV to make sure that I don't have any problems with my eyes and I don't have to go through the hours and hours and hours of traffic going down to Niagara Falls, even though we're about 15 minutes away. Anyway, have fun. Be careful. Wear the proper glasses. And for goodness sake, don't lose your patience when you're in a traffic jam, one of the many traffic jams that we're expecting down here in the beautiful region of Niagara. Wow. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, of our Two Tonight show is Elliott Van Dusen. And we've had the pleasure of having Elliott on the show before. He's been fascinated with both the supernatural and law enforcement since childhood. Elliott graduated from St. Mary's University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminology. He completed 15 years of service with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police before retiring at the rank of Corporal. He spent his policing career specializing in major crimes, homicide, sex crimes, and drug enforcement. He currently serves as the Director of the Paranormal Phenomena Research and Investigation in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So, Elliott, first of all, thank you for your service and all the other members who serve our country well, and welcome back to the X Zone.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Thank you for having me back on the show. It's always a pleasure.
So what's new with the paranormal in Nova Scotia?
We've been pretty busy lately with doing a tour around Nova Scotia. Actually, I do a lecture, about a 3-hour lecture on hauntings, exploring apparitions, poltergeists, and the demonic. And it's going fairly well. I'm trying to hit all the bigger cities. So I've been to Pictou. I've been to Halifax, of course, and just finished one up in Antigonish, and have one next week for Nova Scotia. And one thing that I'm surprised is the attendance is really good. Obviously, a lot of people are interested in the paranormal, but a lot of people have not heard of our nonprofit organization, Paranormal Phenomena Research and Investigation. And we've been around since 1997. As you said, I remember being a young teenager on your show, I think, for the first time many years ago.
Wow.
And I've been investigating the paranormal now for 27 years. But yeah, there's still a lot of people in Nova Scotia that aren't aware of our organization being around and being able to help them, and that we're nonprofit and we don't charge for investigations. And of course, my tour as well is to raise awareness about our 2024 Halifax Paranormal Symposium, which is coming up on October 12th at the Halifax Hotel and Conference Center.
Let me ask you something. What has been your most perplexing investigation that you have done as a paranormal investigator, and how has your police experience helped you in these investigations?
Well, the one investigation I always go back to is the one I wrote my first book called Evil in Exeter. It was about a residence that was haunted in Exeter, Rhode Island. I had been warned by the homeowner that whenever she has a male person over at the house, it seems to stir up the activity. And of course, being a police officer and a paranormal investigator that had done many investigations at that time, had seen a few things that I couldn't really explain. I wasn't, overly worried. But sure enough, as soon as I, went to the house, I started to witness activity myself. Heard three approach me very distinctly in the kitchen. I saw doors open and close on their own, doorknobs turn 3/4 of the way, and I'd open it up right away and there'd be nobody behind it. Fire alarms that would go off early in the morning, around 1:30 in the morning, that would only turn off from being sprayed with holy water.
Holy cow.
Children acting very strange, saying you're hearing scratching noises coming from the wall. So of course, you have all kinds of thoughts running through your mind, especially being a former police officer. So, I checked everything I possibly could, even with the kids saying that there was scratching in the walls, made sure there was no animals inside the drywall. Went outside to even check the trees, make sure there's no branches, rubbing against the window. And there was a lot of things in that investigation that I just couldn't explain. Never or anything like that, but certainly witnessed a bunch of phenomena that I was unable to explain rationally.
So what happened? Were you able to actually find out what was causing all this paranormal activity, and were you able to rid the house of whatever it was?
Yeah. It was several months of me traveling back and forth between Nova Scotia and Rhode Island to conduct the investigation. And what I was able to piece together by conducting interviews and witnessing the phenomena myself, and searching through the historical records that existed with this particular haunting, is that something had attached themselves to the homeowner when she was very young. She had actually witnessed the apparition. He was about 6 foot tall. He had no eyes, just completely black pockets. Very pale skin, described almost like the silver moon kind of image, that pale moon skin type description. And that was witnessed by her and her boyfriend at the time. And a medium had contacted her sister once and said that she had a very negative jinn attached to her. And so anyone that's not familiar with a jinn, in the Quran, a jinn could be a good jinn, almost like an angel in the Roman Catholic Bible, or it could be a negative jinn or a demon in the Roman Catholic Bible. And one particular day, her phone had been activated. SIRI, I won't say it because everyone's phones probably listening will go off, but SIRI had activated on her iPhone, and it said, hey, SIRI, Malik, dirty girl, and the response was, in my realm, you can be anything. So obviously that was very, very strange. She contacted me, sent me the screenshots. I tested it out on my phone, and the proper iOS response should have been, I just don't understand this gender thing. I had my co-founder of PPRI check it out because he was on the same network, the AT&T network. He had the same response, and we checked it out on a third phone, and, the third person had the same response that me and Spencer did. So we ended up reaching out to Apple, and they had no explanation for why the iOS software at the time had given the other response, in my realm, you can be anything, compared to what the other three iPhones were getting. So mixed with the fact that an Arabic medium had told the family that there was a negative jinn attached to her, all of a sudden the name Malik appears. I start doing some research on Malik and find out that he's a jinn in the Quran, a higher ranking jinn that's in charge of hell, and he has 19 other jinns underneath him. So we ended up contacting the family's Roman Catholic priest to see if he could come over and perform a blessing on the house. But unfortunately, he wasn't doing deliverance work at the time, or exorcism type work. Deliverance work's the proper term for it in the Catholic religion. So we ended up having to contact a medium, and luckily the medium was able to assist us. And we did some non-denominational prayers. We actually captured something on the FLIR, the thermal camera. We caught these dark, distorted footprints that appeared across the bed as the medium was calling the entity towards her. And after several hours of doing non-denominational prayers, and there was some Catholic prayers in there too, I remember Michael the Archangel prayer was said, the medium felt that the entity had departed. The footprints that we could see on the FLIR disappeared. And the family has not had any activity in the house now since that would have been November of 2018.
My goodness. That is scary.
It was very scary. I learned some lessons in that because I had been investigating the paranormal probably for about 23 years, maybe back then, because this would have happened in 2018. And, I did some religious provocation, and I did some challenging of the entity, and it didn't happen right away, but within a day or two, you would have something happen. It's just strange things, like the fire alarms going off at 1:30 in the morning when you weren't expecting it. I had that recording of me challenging the entity saved on my phone, and one day while we're just randomly driving in the car, the homeowner was connected to her Bluetooth, and all of a sudden hers cut out. My phone somehow connected to her Bluetooth. It somehow found the audio recording in my iPhone, and it somehow skipped ahead to the part
we've got to take it.
Actually challenged it.
Elliott, I hate to do this, but we've got to take our break. X Zone Nation, Elliott Van Dusen is our special guest. The website is PPRI.net. We'll both be back on the other side of the short break as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And we're coming to you tonight on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 and Classic1220.ca.
Tracker. Tom was a man with dreams, and Ernie came along and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries, legend, tales, and facts. It brought us all together, and it's a reason for the fact. Up in North California, where the redwoods reach the skies.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. My special guest this hour is Elliott Van Dusen, and his website is PPRI.net. And as always, great having you with us, Elliott. You were telling us about this investigation that you did, and I must tell you, I had the hairs on my arms just tingling, because if I didn't know who you were and how credible you are, I've got to tell you something. I would have had doubts, but because I know who you are and the fact that you were in law enforcement, you were a Mountie, you were a corporal, you've been doing investigations for a number of years, I know that what you tell me is true. And that's what made it scary, my friend.
Well, it was hard for me to believe too, and even to this day, some people don't believe in the demonic because things get very confusing when you bring religion into the picture. And in my presentation that I have been doing around Nova Scotia, I mentioned that to people, that everything I talk about in relation to apparitions and poltergeists. I can back up through peer-reviewed studies and parapsychological laboratory studies that have been conducted. But once you start to kind of cross over into the demonic, it becomes, based on belief.
Right.
And there are some things that the demonic, if you do believe in the demonic, that they do that are of interest to parapsychologists. For example, they often provide information from the future, which would be precognition,
right,
which is something that falls under parapsychology. They can often talk to you mind to mind, which is telepathy, which again falls under extrasensory perception, which falls under parapsychology. So I have an interest in it, but I have a hard time sometimes, saying that demons are real and because of my scientific background. So with this case, I was really struggling with the fact, was it a jinn, was it a demon, or was it just a really nasty entity that was harassing this family? I certainly knew something was harassing this family because I experienced it myself. And it was even hard for me to believe, being both a police officer and a paranormal investigator. But like you said, it's the truth, and that's what happened.
Okay, so having this demonic entity that reacted to the religious rituals that you did of deliverance, doesn't this prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that good and evil does exist, and that there's more fact, there's more truth than anything, that religious philosophies have been right from day one?
I certainly do believe in good and evil, and karma as well. I think if you put good karma out there, the good things will come back to you, and I've experienced that. And I think if you have that negative energy that you're putting out there, that you'll attract negative energy, and I've seen that too, and kind of fell into some ruts with some negative thinking, and things don't go as planned. And like you said, ever since ancient times, back in ancient Mesopotamia and Babylon times, where we have our first recorded history, they certainly believed in good and evil, and it's been a theme of humankind since the beginning. So this was certainly a case where you had a good family that was being harassed by an evil entity for sure, and I was just glad that I was able to help. It was very eye-opening. I'd come back to Canada after being down there for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, just absolutely exhausted and not wanting to see a haunted house ever again.
I can understand why.
I've been investigating this for years. You know what? It was just very frightening because you have no control over it, and I often equate this scenario with somebody. If you've got somebody in your house that you don't want, a living person,
right?
You have a few options. You can ask them to leave, you can force them to leave physically, or you can call the police and have them remove them.
Right.
With the supernatural, nobody can do that. So if any of the listeners out there ever have somebody that promises to get rid of your paranormal problem or your ghost or anything like that, just know that that's not true. Nobody can guarantee that, and there still are some scams out there about people houses for $500, and miraculously the first time they come in it doesn't work, so you got to call them back again for another $500. Just be careful on who you hire or who you get to help you with that supernatural problem, because it's something that we just can't guarantee. And that was probably one of the scariest things, is I couldn't guarantee to help this family. I certainly wanted to help the family, and like I said, I initially tried to contact the priest because they Roman Catholic background, and when they weren't available, they were open to using a medium that I trusted. So fortunately, for whatever reason, science doesn't know, it worked, and the family hasn't had any issues, like I said, since November of 2018.
Elliott, is there any idea on how the entity or why the entity targeted this family?
Well, the one thing that I was able to tell is that spirits had been around the 40-year-old woman for most of her life, for as long as she could remember, and she had some medium abilities herself. I think if she would have taken some proper training or had a mentor to kind of guide her, I think that she actually could really hone in on her mediumship skill. But when I knew her, she was extremely intuitive, and a lot of mediums talk about spirits and apparitions being able to kind of detect, communicate with them.
Right.
So she's always kind of had spirits come around her, but most of them have been, fairly benign and no issues. But this one entity somehow attached itself to her, and there was nothing blaring. There was no like use of the Ouija board or black magic or conjuring activities or anything like that. Somehow this entity found this family and attached itself to it.
You mentioned Ouija boards. Have you had any experience with Ouija boards, and are they able to open up a porthole into the other realm and allow negative entities to enter into this realm?
I've had one experience with a Ouija board. It's kind of funny and mundane, but I'll share that here in 1 second.
Sure.
With Ouija boards, I think where the danger lies is that we don't know who we're communicating with. I don't believe the stories of, somebody poured gasoline on it and burned it, and the next day it appears on the coffee table again.
Oh, right.
I haven't seen that in 27 years. When I lecture, I ask people if they've experienced that, and nobody raises their hand. I think those are, folklore stories that we hear about. But the danger, I think, lies in that we don't know who we're, because sometimes, you could have a prankster, a person that was, just a funny prankster pretending to be your grandmother on the other side, or you could have, a really nasty entity, if you believe in the demonic, that pretends to be, a child or a victim of something and tries to gain your trust and get you to invite them into your life. Time I ever had an experience with the Ouija board was we lost our TV remote when we were kids, and for some reason we decided it'd be a good idea to break out our Ouija board and ask it. And there was myself, my brother, and my two sisters, and we kept getting the same response, and the response was just UTS, which didn't make any sense. It wasn't a word.
Under the sofa? Pardon?
Well, that's what we thought. So we checked underneath the sofa cushions.
Right.
Stairs where we used to play, because Mom and Dad had a wine cellar under there. Even checked underneath the sink. Wasn't there. The next day, my sister was playing in her play, and underneath the sink of the play set was a TV remote. Yeah, it was really strange. It was the one time that I had the experience with the Ouija board, and it kept doing it at the same time. We asked the same question multiple times, and it kept spelling out UTS.
In your opinion, should people play with a Ouija board? Should it be taken out of the game department of the toy store and put somewhere else?
That's a good question.
Or is it user beware?
Yeah, I guess as a personal opinion, it would just be my opinion. Maybe sold at like an occult store where somebody can kind of, just give you a little 5-minute warning or, a 2-minute warning about, hey, it could be a tool, a divination tool used to connect with, spirits, and you don't know who you're talking to, use caution kind of thing, rather than just selling it at Walmart. I think that's exactly where the one I have came from, was, just a retail store.
True. Very true. Are there other ways that people can inadvertently, in your opinion, open up a porthole and invite these negative entities or these demonic entities into their lives without knowing it?
Well, what we've seen from human experiences and collecting all the stories and experiences of individuals is that normally they're going through some sort of rough period. Usually it's a low socioeconomic person. They're down and out on their luck. They could have mental health issues like depression, anxiety. They could be isolating themselves, and they end up using a Ouija board and connecting with a spirit, that again befriends them. There's also been stories of people dabbling with black magic where they've, initiated a negative spell onto somebody, and then all of a sudden something negative happens to them where they've got this entity haunting them or, bothering them.
Right.
So there's certainly certain phenomena that people have reported for many, many years that have kind of led to that. I think, again, I do believe in sending out positive energy and also negative energy. So I do think if you're kind of involved in that negative world and you're sending out that negative energy, you're gonna attract that back.
Just like karma.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Saying, misery loves company.
Stand by, Elliott. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to contact Elliott, if you have problems, if you need advice, if you're looking for somebody and need to know what to ask, who to seek, and where to go to find them, you can always contact Elliott. And if he's unable to help you, if it's a long way to travel, I'm sure he can help you find somebody in your area that is reputable. His website, ppri.net, and we'll be back on the other side of the short break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in St. Catharines, Ontario, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, coming to you on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed at classic1220.ca.
Tom was a man with dreams, and Ernie came along, and I wrote the songs about a creature that few's ever seen. Monsters, myths, and mysteries. What's it take to be a believer? Tell me who's to say. You think that we'd have come this far, looking back on yesterday? Because you hadn't seen sun, you tend to disbelieve. Though you've never known death, when someone dies, you grieve. Though you never seen the good Lord, there's ones that worship Him each day.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming classic1220.ca. Elliott, this coming Monday we have a solar eclipse, and there's a little bit of hype, and I even talked about it at the beginning of the show. What I'd like to ask you, is there an increase or a decrease in paranormal activity when there is an astronomical event such as eclipses?
That's a great question. Not so much with eclipses. The Earth's geomagnetic field has shown to have an increase in paranormal activity. There's been an increase in UFO sightings when the Earth's magnetic field is stronger than normal, and also with hauntings. And we know through laboratory studies, such as the work of the late Dr. Michael Persinger, another Canadian neuroscientist that was from Laurentian University. He had created what's called the God helmet. So we know from that experiment, he would directly temporal lobes excessive amounts of electromagnetic radiation, which would cause people to experience apparitions, auditory hallucinations, even seeing religious figures like the Virgin Mary and Jesus Christ himself. So certainly that plays a role, but the eclipse, from what I've been seeing, and I heard the intro that you did, seems to bring out a lot of just like craziness. I've been reading about people wanting to sacrifice animals. I've been reading about people thinking that there's a UFO that's going to appear somewhere behind this eclipse. And there's some religious cults, I guess, that are, getting all fired up. And I hadn't heard the zombie one, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So we actually had a meeting today at PPRI, just kind of letting our investigators know, that in the next couple days we may end up having to screen some cases that come into us that might not necessarily be paranormal. It might be abnormal and could be mental health related. And certainly from policing, I always found that everyone talks about it being a full moon, but for policing, I found it was about a couple days before the actual full moon that people would just seem to go a little bit crazy. And we do know that, moon affects tides here on Earth, and we know that we're mostly made of water, so some people believe that the moon can affect our moods and our perception. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know everyone's out there buying those glasses. You just got to make sure that you buy the right kinds.
Yeah, exactly.
They look like 1980s 3D movie theater glasses, but as long as you have the right kind, they say you should be okay. And that's you should check your glasses, make sure it says IS 12312-2, which apparently is the standard for blocking off that cosmic radiation that can cause you to go blind.
As a paranormal investigator, how do you screen the cases that you take on?
Well, we usually conduct a very thorough initial interview, I call it.
Right.
We try and do it if we can't do it in person, we try and do it over Zoom or some other method where we can see the person, because audio video is your best evidence, and doing it by video or in person, you get to see the person's nonverbal language, so their body language.
Yeah.
You also get to see kind of their influence in their environment, because sometimes you'll hear on the phone interviews, you'll hear the husband kind of huffing and puffing in the background. He, kind of gets embarrassed that his wife's telling a stranger, for all intents and purposes, that is, they've reached out to us and we're strangers to them. A very intimate kind of story about the paranormal, because there is still a stigma attached to the paranormal. So that can influence the person telling their experiences to us if they've got, somebody standing over their shoulder not approving of them talking to us. So we usually do that. We usually ask for medical information. And we keep all of our, for all the listeners out there, we keep all of our investigations confidential. We don't share your address, your name, anything like that. We may talk about cases on podcasts or radio shows or in our educational events, very generically, but
right.
Don't give any details that can identify you. But we do ask for and alcohol and drug use, and we get very in depth. And then we love independent witnesses, same as the police, and that's probably one reason why now in the paranormal I love independent witnesses, because again, they can help corroborate the client's version of what's happening, and sometimes they actually kind of discredit the client. I've had lots of independent witnesses where we were told if you interview this person, they'll tell you the same thing, and then we do, and they have a completely different version of what happened, and non-paranormal version of what happened. So a lot of it comes from, conducting very, very thorough interviews, and of course, like I said, additional information like medical information.
Do people get indignant when you start asking them these personal questions?
I find some people get a little sheepish about the alcohol, drug use. Normally I give them my biography, I guess, where I tell them I'm a former police officer. I do try and say, listen, I don't care if you're using illicit drugs. It's the same as when I was on homicide. A lot of times we would be conducting a homicide mixed in with the drug world, and we would say, listen, we're not here to conduct a drug investigation. Conduct a homicide investigation. Don't care about your drug stuff. It's the same with the paranormal. Don't care about your alcohol, drug use, but we do need to know, because it's important. We've actually had a few cases where we found some people, we've recommended a medical and their pharmacist has found that they're either taking too little of a drug or too much of a drug,
gosh.
or they're actually using two different drugs that are negatively interacting with each other, because in today's world where it's hard to find a family doctor, a lot of us are using the virtual doctors or the walk-in clinic. So you're dealing with multiple different doctors, and you just come in with a symptom and they issue you a prescription to help alleviate that symptom. And a lot of times they're not keeping track of everything else that you're on. But a pharmacist knows chemicals a lot better than a general practitioner. So we have caught cases where, people are experiencing drug hallucinations for all intents and purposes.
So once you've screened your prospective client, what is your next step?
So our next step then would be to, I would contact my investigators and tell them that we're prepared to do a full field investigation. So we'll set up a time that works for everybody, because we are all volunteers. I'm lucky enough to be retired from the RCMP, but a lot of my members are still working full time, and so are the clients. So we'll set up a time that's convenient, and we'll also set up the time that might not be necessarily convenient for the client if it's happening at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But we will try and set the time on when they find the activity is occurring most, because if it is occurring, between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., there's no point of us showing up at noon and leaving at 5 p.m. So we try and do that, and we bring all of our equipment. We do use, electromagnetic field radiation detectors. We have gas detectors. We have a thermal camera, audio recording devices, video recording devices, thermometers, and we even have an infrasound machine, which I have to figure out how to use, but infrasound is another big important thing popping up in the paranormal these days. It sounds underneath 20 hertz that humans can't hear but still exists, and it can cause psychological and physiological responses in the body, such as your eyes vibrating and seeing shadows out of the corner of your eyes and things like that. So we'll come in and assess the environment.
There's a lot more that goes into a paranormal investigation than people actually realize. And do you find that people think that you and your team are going to act and perform just like the TV shows?
You know what? I asked that question when I did a public ghost hunt last year for Esterfest up in Amherst.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised that of 40 people, I think only one person thought that what they were about to experience was what you saw on television. Most people actually that I spoke to that night felt that they knew the TV was just for what I call paratainment, and for entertainment purposes, and they knew that there was going to be a lot more involved than what they see on television.
Well, that's great to hear. What do you think about the para-entertainment business and the industry that's growing up around the paranormal? Are you pro it or con it, especially when you have these places that are starting to charge crazy amounts for paranormal investigators to go there?
Absolutely. I would be more against it. I actually had a recent experience a couple of years ago with a colleague of mine, Dr. Daryl Walsh. We had a TV show idea where we would re-examine old cases, almost like a cold case, but paranormal type feel to it, such as cool. Like the Enfield poltergeist case, and there's new technology out now, so we could re-analyze the audio from there, things like that. And we were actually told by a network that it's too scientific, that they got nervous that we were parapsychologists, that people don't want to hear that ghosts don't exist. There has to be a scare every 3 minutes. And basically, by the time we looked through their criteria of what they wanted, I went back to a producer friend and I said, well, we have two options here. We can either, one, do the show and just fake it all and lie.
Right.
But I sit on a board of experts, so I said I could never look at those guys again in the face with a straight face. Or two, we take this idea and we turn it into like a drama show like the X-Files, because I said that's basically what they're asking. And so of course the show never went ahead. I just started watching the new show tonight before this show on Netflix. I can't even remember the name of it now. investigating unknown files or something like that. But so far it's done pretty good, and I find the shows where they interview people and just get their experiences and then do like a little reenactment. I find those shows a lot more better than your typical ghost hunting shows.
Stand by, my friend. We've got to take our final break in X-Zone Nation. When we come back, the final segment of tonight's show. Elliott Van Dusen is our special guest. The website is ppri.net, and we'll both be back after a short break. So whatever you do, don't go away, don't get abducted by aliens, and don't go to Niagara Falls yet.
3 men with a gold and a pact that they'd hold, and a promise till the day that they died. Answers to the questions no one's found before. Driving determination, the only key they had to unlock the door. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Will the creature remain a mystery, something we'll never understand? Or will he fulfill the legends and survive the end of man? Only time will tell. Only time will tell. Will he look back on our glory?
Welcome back, everyone. This is the final segment of tonight's show. I want to take this opportunity of thanking our guest tonight, and especially my good friend from Sydney, Nova Scotia, the founder and director of PPRI, Elliott Van Dusen. Elliott, what is the difference between, and I know you're kind of going to laugh when I say this, but for the listeners out there who don't know, what is the difference between a parapsychologist and a paranormal investigator?
So a parapsychologist is an individual usually with an academic background or some sort of degree, whether it's psychology. There are a couple of degrees out there with majors in parapsychology. A lot of times the funding gets cut from universities, so the programs end up ceasing to exist. That study parapsychology, which is the scientific study of extrasensory perception, mind-matter interaction, or what's known as psychokinesis, and survival. And survival has a whole ton of other things that fall underneath it, such as, ghosts, near-death experiences, reincarnation, etc. Whereas, a paranormal investigator, they usually don't have any sort of training. They, maybe took a course online. They would, investigate things, may or may not use the scientific method when they conduct their investigations, and unfortunately there's nothing right now, no governing body that certifies or kind of polices parapsychologists. So technically anybody can call themselves a parapsychologist. Used to be mediums would call themselves those way back in the before even my time, but in the 70s and 80s. But now it's kind of generally people that are academically well versed in parapsychology that are called parapsychologists. So for myself, I've got a BA in criminology, I've got an MA in counseling psychology, and I actually did do a doctorate in parapsychology at the time, along with multiple other certificates. I've taken almost every course from the Rhine Education Center. I have a diploma in parapsychology from Stratford Career Institute, and I've taken just one-off courses from University of Edinburgh, Glasgow University, and University of Ottawa, actually. Any sort of paranormal course that I see, I take. I've taken a witchcraft course, a monsters course.
Holy cow.
I'm always learning, and usually every course I take, I learn something new. So, and courses are important. It's actually last fall, as part of PPRI, we opened up our online parapsychological education center. And so we started to teach some online courses. We do introduction to parapsychology. I've taken two academic courses in demonology, and then I have a Roman Catholic priest in a Mexican Catholic priest come on and co-teach and assist as well for Introduction to Demonology. And then just this upcoming semester, we're going to be doing a How to Investigate UFO UAP course. And Chris Stiles, who's a UFO researcher here in Nova Scotia, he's agreed to be the facilitator on it. So really looking forward to co-teaching on that with Chris. He's going to be the lead on it because he's more well-versed in UFO research than me. But we're really trying to get the Parapsychological Education Center off the ground and try and get experts in the field teaching the courses. So education is a very important part of PPRI. It's our third objective.
Well,
objectives. We've got investigations, research, and education.
Well, congratulations. I think that's a wonderful idea. And I'm glad to see you doing that because it is.
Yes, thank you.
It is really needed when people want to further their education within if they want to be a ghost investigator, if they want to be, and hopefully they want to aspire to be a parapsychologist, thanks to you.
Well, some students, it's funny, I follow them on Facebook and I can see them grow after they've taken the course, with their posts. I'll see them, post on a paranormal group and they're using the stuff that we've taught them. And, they're providing accurate information based on, like I said, peer-reviewed studies that have been done and parapsychological laboratory studies that have been done. And it's really nice to see factual information go out there because, we are still dealing with topics that are not part of mainstream science because we don't fully understand them, and there's more questions than there are answers with the paranormal, unfortunately.
Do you find there's more members of the scientific community?
That's why.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just asking you if you are seeing more members of the scientific community actually taking interest in the paranormal so that one day we could better understand it.
I think I've noticed a difference. I noticed medical professionals, for example, like Dr. Samprina, he's a medical doctor. He is an expert in near-death experiences. Dr. Richard Gallagher, he's a psychiatrist with Columbia University. He's got an interest in demonic possession and mental health issues. So it's great to see, the medical community getting involved. I've seen anthropologists as well get involved, studying the paranormal and writing research papers. There was one parapsychologist who works at Fraser University here in Canada that wrote a academic paper on crop circles. So certainly there's some people getting involved, and then there's more people I think that could get involved, but they're so busy in their astrophysics or quantum physics fields that they haven't really touched base yet with the paranormal. But I think even those individuals, because they're dealing with a lot of unproven as well in their field, I think if they came and joined us in parapsychology, that we'd be able to accomplish even more.
In your opinion, where do you think the first answer to one of these mysteries will be established and discovered?
Well, I would say if it's going to be anything, I would say it's going to be between extrasensory perception, so our psychic abilities, and survival of human consciousness. So it was from an interview I watched with Dr. Samprina, and he said as a medical doctor, he can empirically say, or as we like to say as police officers, beyond a reasonable doubt, that human consciousness can survive once the body has died for at least 2 hours after death. Wow. What happens after that, he's unsure, and he knows that from the studies that he did with Project Aware and Project Aware 2, where they resuscitated people that were clinically dead for 2 hours and then brought back and actually provided information that they were able to corroborate. So we know that human consciousness can exist beyond bodily death for at least 2 hours. And, I think that's a huge breakthrough. So I think it's going to be between extrasensory perception, which has been proven in the laboratory, although weak and sometimes not able to be replicated, and survival.
What is your opinion on crop circles? You mentioned crop circles. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, crop circles are strange. I have seen people be able to fake them really well. So I do think some of the cases would be a hoax or others have shown videos where, it appears that a UFO is like bending the field or whatever it's doing to these the wheat fields and the crops, and then others we don't know. They just wake up and all of a sudden there's a very intricate design in their field, and it was pitch black out at night. They're not really quite sure how it was done. So that's a tough one. I think some are hoaxes, and I think some there's something going on, whether they're signs from somebody or some sort of natural doing really intricate artwork. It's hard to say. Yeah, I don't know. That one's a tough one.
Has there ever been a crop circle in Nova Scotia?
Not that I publicly know of. The one thing I'm chasing right now is somebody told me about a UFO sighting about 15 minutes away from me, and it happened in September of 1974. And they actually sent me the old Cape Breton Post news articles on it. And there was quite a bit of investigation that was done by the Department of National Defense. They actually went out, they took photographs, they took soil samples, because the ground had a UFO allegedly landed in a field out in South Bar, caused some damage to the grass there. It blackened it, and nothing would grow on it for many, many years. And so they took soil samples, and one Cape Breton Post article a couple of years later, something strange or unknown had shown up in the test results.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the next article that came out basically said that, the military's done investigating it. There was nothing to it. They blamed it on missiles being launched from Greenland. So I just recently did a Freedom of Information Act request, or Access to Information Act, actually, I should say, for Canada. And they just wrote me back today, actually, saying that no records of this file and that I should check with the National Archives. So there'll be people that I knock on their door to see if I can find out what that sample was in the field, and if they have any photographs.
Elliott, we've got about a minute left. Tell our listeners how they can find out more about you, as well as how they can take your courses that you're offering.
Well, the best way to find out about me, or find out about our courses, or even find out about the 2024 Halifax Paranormal Symposium, is just go to PPRI.net. That's our website. We've got, it stands for Paranormal Phenomena Research Investigation.net. We've got all kinds of resources on there, links to the Parapsychological Education Center, and there's also resources to other trusted agencies, and there's even some scientific articles under our resources section. If you're really that into the paranormal, you want to read some academic paperwork.
Elliott, thank you ever so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. Take care of yourself, and please give my very best to all the people at the PPRI.net, and we look forward to helping you guys again this year. Make your event a great success.
Great, Rob. Thank you very much. I always appreciate coming back. Pleasure.
Take care, my friend. Be safe. All right, Exo Nation, that's it for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca. So until next we meet, my friends, take care of each other, and always remember, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.